All right, let's dive in. We're going to talk about one of the most powerful and yet almost completely invisible organisms on the entire planet. I mean, these things are ancient, billions of years old. They're literally everywhere. And get this, they are the very reason you and I are alive right now. So it's about time we met the tiny architects of our world.
And I'm not exaggerating here, not even a little bit. We're talking billions of years ago. These tiny organisms started doing something incredible, oxygenic photosynthesis. But they did it on a planetary scale. This event, it's so massive it has a name, the Great Oxidation Event. They literally pumped our atmosphere full of the oxygen we need to breathe, completely changing the face of the Earth and, paving the way for, well, everything. For all complex life. That includes us.
So who are these incredible architects? Well, they're called cyanobacteria. Now, you've probably heard them called blue-green algae, right? But that's not quite right. It's a common mistake. They're not algae at all. They're actually bacteria. And the craziest part, the thing that I think is just amazing, is how they gave rise to all plants. It's this wild process called endosymbiosis. Basically, way back when, a bigger cell swallowed up a cyanobacterium, but didn't digest it. Instead, it became a permanent part of the cell, the chloroplast. So yeah, every single plant on Earth, every tree, every flower, every blade of grass has a tiny, ancient cyanobacterium living inside it, powering the whole show.
Okay, so you'd think something this small would be pretty simple, right? Just a little blob. But no way. Cyanobacteria come in this absolutely stunning variety of shapes and sizes. And this diversity, it's not just for looks. It's actually giving us a peek into some of the very first experiments with complex multicellular life on this planet. It's like looking back in time.
Really, it all comes down to three basic body plants. You've got your unicellular ones, just single, independent cells doing their own thing. Then you have colonial types, where a bunch of individual cells kind of hang out together, all bundled up in this gooey matrix. And then there are the filamentous ones, which are really cool. They actually link up cell to cell, forming these long chains we call trichomes. And those first two types, the single cells and the colonies, they are masters at getting together. I mean, you get your basic spheres and ovals, sure, but then you get these unbelievably organized colonies, like Merismopedia. It forms these perfect grid-like sheets of cells. It's wild. They're all just held together by this slimy stuff they make themselves. It's a really simple way to live as a community, but man, is it effective. Okay, but let's talk about those filamentous forms, those chains, because this is where things get really interesting. These aren't just simple chains of identical cells. No, this is where we see a true division of labor. Some cells, we call them heterocysts, actually stop doing photosynthesis altogether. Their new job, they specialize in pulling nitrogen right out of the air, a process called nitrogen fixation, and that feeds the entire chain. Think about that. Different cells doing different jobs for the good of the whole. This is one of the very first steps towards becoming a truly multicellular organism. So we've seen how they team up, but what about the individual cell? I mean, how does a single cyanobacterium protect itself in a dangerous world? Well, it turns out they've evolved a really unique kind of cellular armor. Okay, quick biology lesson. In the world of bacteria, there are basically two main styles of body armor. You've got gram-positive, which have this one super thick wall made of something called peptidoglycan. Then you have gram-negative bacteria. They have a much thinner peptidoglycan layer, but they make up for it by adding a whole extra outer membrane on top. So, the big question is, where do our cyanobacteria fit in? Are they gram-positive or gram-negative?
The answer is, they kind of cheat. They do a little bit of both. Technically, they're classified as gram-negative because they do have that outer membrane. But, and this is the key, just look at their peptidoglycan layer. It's way thicker than a typical gram-negative. It's much more like a gram-positive wall. It's like they looked at both designs and said, yeah, I'll take the best parts of each. Thanks. It's a hybrid.
And when I say thick, I mean thick. Get this, in some of those filamentous types, that peptidoglycan layer can be up to 700 nanometers. To put that in perspective, that is over 100 times thicker than what you'd find in a standard gram-negative bug like E. coli. We are talking about some serious armor plating. So that leads to the obvious question, right? Why? Why go to all that trouble? Why build this super complex hybrid wall when other bacteria are doing just fine with simpler designs? What's the evolutionary advantage here? Well, the advantages are massive. For one, that extra outer membrane is like biological chainmail. It's an extra layer of defense against viruses and things that want to eat it. But here's the real kicker, the most important advantage of all.
That double membrane structure was the perfect, ready-made package for evolution. When that ancient cell swallowed a cyanobacterium, it came with its own double-wrapped protection. That feature, that specific design, is what made the evolution of every single plant on this planet possible. Without that hybrid wall, we might not have forests or fields.
All right, so that's the armor on the outside. Now, let's take a trip inside the cell and check out the engine room. Let's look at the machinery that actually powers this whole operation.
This is where the magic really happens, on these things called thylakoid membranes. The best way to think of them is like intricate internal solar panels. They're these folded-up membranes deep inside the cell, just packed with everything needed to grab sunlight and convert it into pure chemical energy. This is the power plants.
But here's the cool thing. Not all of these internal solar panels are built the same way, not by a long shot. Evolution has gone wild, creating this whole gallery of different designs. Some are super simple, just lining the outer edge of the cell. We call that parietal. Others are arranged like spokes on a wheel, radiating inward. Some form these complex, wavy bundles, and others are stacked up in these neat, parallel layers that pretty much fill the whole cell. It's incredible diversity.
And you know what? This diversity isn't random at all. It's actually telling us a story, an evolutionary story. If you trace these different patterns, you can actually see a clear progression from simple designs to much more complex ones. It's like mapping the journey of cyanobacteria across billions of years of history.
And here's the path it seems to have taken. All the evidence points to the original, ancestral design being that simple parietal one, just lining the walls. Then, over vast stretches of time, as cyanobacteria evolved and diversified, we see more complex patterns show up, like the radial and wavy ones. And then, in the most advanced, most highly evolved multicellular groups, you find these incredibly complex, irregularly coiled arrangements. It's all about maximizing the surface area to soak up as much sunlight as possible.
It's such a beautiful, logical story, isn't it? You go from a simple design, lining the wall, to this complex internal power grid. It seems pretty clear that to do this kind of advanced photosynthesis, you absolutely need these thylakoids. So, it stands to reason that they all have them, right?
Well, evolution. It just loves a good plot twist. Everybody, meet Globacter. This is one of the most ancient, what we call basal lineages of cyanobacteria ever discovered. And yeah, it breaks the rule.
Globacter has no thylakoids. Zero. None. It does its oxygen-producing photosynthesis right on its main outer cell membrane. It's doing the same job, but using a much more primitive setup, just like other photosynthetic bacteria that don't even produce oxygen. This thing is a living fossil. It's a direct window into the past, showing us what this world-changing process might have looked like before the invention of those sophisticated internal solar panels.
So, when you think about it, from literally terraforming our planet and becoming the power source for all plant life, to showing us the first tentative steps toward complex life, cyanobacteria are just an absolute masterclass in evolution. And something like Globacter is a powerful reminder that even after billions of years, there are still these incredible secrets hiding right under our noses, in plain sight. It just leaves you wondering, what other ancient secrets are just waiting to be discovered inside the planet's smallest and maybe most important architects?